ladies and gentlemen. I have a hard topic of criminal responsibility to talk about. I was practicing law for 25 years, and now I'm a founding partner of a law firm in Switzerland. So I will draw your attention to this bunch of papers. It's about 31 pages. And this is not my speech. It's basically sealed arrest warrant of a Russian programmist, Mr. Vinnik, who was arrested here in Greece. And he is spending now almost a year in jail, awaiting extradition to the United States, to Russia, or to France. So I would like to interact with you, proposing for you to be kind of a jury or a judge, and I will play a good prosecutor. So at the end, we will try to find the adversary, and I will ask you if you can identify one. So every prosecutor has been asked, is crypto technology inherently criminal? And the answer is always no. But we as prosecutors are trained to deceive people, to tell lie, and this deception technology is built into the legislation. So my task is to visit the crime scene, to collect the evidences, to get an arrest warrant, and then to get a forced confession. 70% of the people confess because they cannot sustain sitting in a jail for a long time. So now, how it happens that Mr. Vinnik was arrested in Greece? It was 1999 when Greece, China, Russia, and Australia, some other countries, signed a treaty with the United States on legal assistance in criminal matters. What does it mean? It means that everybody in this room is now subject to the prosecution of the United States Department of Justice. Everyone here can be arrested and extradited to the United States and face a lengthy sentences. Don't make a mistake. In 2001, a Patriot Act was adopted by the Congress, and under this act, a fight against underground banking and money laundering was at full speed. So Mr. Vinnik is indicted under Section 1960. He faces 5 years for unlicensed money service business. He is facing 20 years for money laundering. So in total, there are 5 counts. He's facing 80 years in jail. Everyone here can be in his position. Now, in 2011, the US Congress started a crackdown on Bitcoin and notorious crypto exchange Silk Road. And I would like to draw your attention to some evidences. This is an official report to the United States Congress, prepared by some legislative attorneys. What is written on page 12, the Federal Reserve Board, in its May 9, 2014 joint meeting with the Federal Advisory Council, considered Bitcoin potential as a threat to the banking system, economic activity, or financial stability. Wow. If you're a senator and you read this, you must do something about that. But don't make a mistake. This is actual record of a meeting of the Federal Advisory Council and Board of Governors, Friday, May 9, 2014. May 9, 2014. Page 10. Question: does Bitcoin pose a threat to the banking system, economic activity, or financial stability? Answer: Bitcoin does not present a near-term threat to the banking system. Page 11. Bitcoin does not present a threat to economic activity. What is this? It's a deception of the US Congress. Now, take a look at this graph. This is the prison population in the United States. It's on the rise. Not only in the United States, most of the prison population concentrated in Russia, US, and China. About 10 million people are in jail now. Look at this. The rate of homicide is stable. It is not decreasing. The prison population is increasing. The homicide rate is stable. So who is being in jail? The killers supposed to be set free. And there are anecdotal evidences that the gap of gangsters is filled by engineers, scientists, and other geeks who are working or basically are enslaved to work for the big multinational corporation out of jail. This is the same technique which was used in the Soviet Union under Stalin time. Now, make no mistake, every day serious organizations are working and watching what ordinary folks are doing. This is just a list of the organization. Organized Crime Strike Force, Department K, it's from Russia, Digital Currency Crime Coordinator, Digital Crime Task Force Working Group, Agent, Undercover Online Agent. There are same agents in China as well. So these people consider virtual currency as a threat, and the participants in this business as organized crime members. So make no mistake about that. Now, it is very important for the prosecutor, for his career, to imprison for the longer term, the better. So take a look. This is the indictment of Mr. Wittig. Operation of an unlicensed money service business, 5 years imprisonment. It started in the Patriot Act, section 311. And remember, the Patriot Act was adopted by the US Congress about 30 days after 9/11. 131 page. So, count 2, conspiracy to commit money laundering, 20 years in jail, 500,000 fired. My personal opinion is that I'm participating in different conferences. And I'm telling people that what you are doing, you are basically risking yourself. You are in a trap. And if you are a genius, there is high likelihood that you will end up in jail. This is highly secured prison where Ross Ulbricht of Silk Road is serving 2 life sentences. This is Colorado. Nice setting. Doesn't look like a prison. Now I come to universal jurisdiction. Traditionally, nations agree that there are only 3 universally accepted crimes: slavery, piracy, and drug trade. I firmly believe that unlicensed money service business, or even money laundering, is not the type of crime which can be accepted internationally. Why? Because nobody's hurt. Take a money laundering. It's a secondary crime. You have to prove predicate offense or basic crime, and not every predicate offense gives you the right to accuse a person of money laundering. So most of the people are framed and trapped into these troubles for the agenda they don't know. Take a look at piracy. In 1982, all the nations signed a United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. They agreed that the universal jurisdiction can only be applied for 3 crimes, which is piracy, drug trading, and slavery. So why on earth nations signed kind of secret agreements with the other nations to subject your own citizen to the laws which you are not aware of, and you shouldn't? Take Somalia pirates. If they are caught at the open sea, they are sent back to Somalia. The United Nations is operating different prisons in the United Nations because they believe that this is the place where the criminals should be judged, sentenced, etc. In the history, there was an example when Great Britain decided that all the high seas belongs to them. And they were saying that to the other nations. Then the Russian Queen signed Armed Neutrality Declaration of 1780, telling that, sorry, the world ocean, high sea belongs to everybody. The crypto ocean belongs to everybody. Why on earth somebody should expose the whole world to their domestic laws? I'm not saying about the United States. I'm not saying about China or Japan. I'm saying that domestic law is domestic law. And if you're living in this country for a generation, you're supposed to know your laws and regulations. But if you are not living there, why on earth you should be exposed? So my best advice how to avoid being trapped is, first of all, you must understand the criminology, basic criminology. If you don't understand, you must speak to a lawyer. And basic criminology is not only laws, it's also neurocriminology and biocriminology. Second, you must watch the agencies, what they're doing, which techniques they're using. As I mentioned, they're at liberty to use deception. They're sending undercover agents online as well. And finally, you must strive and struggle for the freedom which basically was disrupted in early 90s. And don't let anybody to enslave an innocent engineer, no matter whether he's genius or not. I invite you for questions, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Nikolai. Any questions? Please, can we get the mic there?
Hi, thanks a lot for the presentation. Very impressive. My question is, you brought 2 examples of people who were being indicted or sentenced for something that we would probably agree was not perfectly legal. Like, let's say Silk Road did some things that most people would consider bad. Do you have any examples of people who are just, say, developing technology or just working in this space and were trapped as in certain way or framed in a certain way by those powers that you mentioned?
My assumption is based on the charts about Silk Road. If you look into the court papers, you will see that during the sentencing, there were examples of some drug-addicted people from Australia which were basically killed themselves, and their laptop was wide open, and they found a Silk Road website there. So to be criminally liable, you must have a criminal intention or mens rea. This is very basic. So how you can prove a criminal intention of Ross Ulbricht by taking a notebook from Australia with an open page of Silk Road. So my point is that the quality of acquisition is degraded, and nowadays nobody cares about criminal intention. If the prosecutor wants this gentleman to be put in jail, he will be put in jail. That's my point. Everywhere around the world, because of these legal assistance treaties. And I'm sure that they will not disclose the statistics and names which you have been asked me to anybody. This is top kind of secrets. You will not find it on the internet or elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more question.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Very impressive. You bring to light some important points, I think. Some may say they're conspiratorial, but I think there's some realism in them. We're in an industry that is potentially going to disrupt a lot of things and make a lot of people potentially in very senior positions rather angry in some cases. What do you think that we can do, the people in this room, the movers and shakers in this room who are setting these new technologies up to disrupt existing organizations and institutions? What can we do in our daily lives to make sure that we don't fall victims to some of the things that have happened in your presentation?
As I mentioned, you have to study criminology or employ a lawyer. And you have to stay away from criminally minded people. It's another subject of the conversation, but there are risky groups. Second, you must watch what they're doing, how they're operating. And second, you must fight in a legal fashion. Open cases, legal cases, bring them to court, make counteraction if you're innocent, or if the person have no criminal intention, no mens rea. So you don't need to disrupt anybody because many prosecutors are joining the industry. Take a look at CoinDesk. The prosecutor of Silk Road is there, a nice lady, working for CoinDesk, making their career. Nothing wrong. But speak to universities. Let the universities make courses for the judges. The US judges, for instance, they are mostly from Stanford University, Harvard University. They know little about blockchain technology, know little about bitcoins. So the universities must play a role to make some education among the judiciary. So this is how I see it. We should fight. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.